So, there's something I say in videos that confuses people and has for the last year. This is my new Bruins jersey. I'm very, very proud. Very, very proud of this jersey. Brown and cream colored and yellow, and oh, it's so fantastic. I feel like I'm home wearing this jersey. I've wanted this jersey since 2010, and now I have it. Technically 2009, because if the Winter Classic was in 2010, then this jersey was in 2009, so it only took me 8 years to get it. That being said, there's something I say in videos that confuses people. I even get comments in from people who say, well, wait, that doesn't make sense. The best team does not always win the game. It's just true. Especially in the playoffs. The better team doesn't always win. That's why number 8 seeds beat number 1 seeds. That's why when a series gets down and dirty, anybody can win. You can be the best team in the league and lose. And when you look at teams who finish, I'm looking at the Capitals right now. They're playing the Penguins. The Capitals have been the best team in the league for a long time. But in the playoffs, they haven't been able to get it done. It doesn't mean they're not the best team in the league. It means they're not the Stanley Cup champions. The Stanley Cup champions, to me, are the team made up of the strongest warriors capable of winning those 16 games and holding the silver trophy aloft in June. It's not necessarily the best team. How many times have we seen, and I can think of times at the Olympics where Canada has been held in check by a country that doesn't have any business being on the ice with them, but Canada wins maybe 2-1. Maybe it's a tie game. Now, does that mean Canada's not the better team? No. Canada's absolutely the better team. Sometimes it's coaching. Sometimes it's just a group of guys that get together and say, we're not going to let these guys run us over. The team that wins in the playoffs is the better playoff team, but it doesn't make them the better team. When I say, as a for instance, man for man, I honestly think the Washington Capitals are a better team than the Penguins. It doesn't mean that I think the Washington Capitals in a playoff series that the Washington Capitals can beat the Penguins. Just that, man for man, they are a better team than Pittsburgh. But it doesn't mean that, history's going to change anytime soon. Chicago Blackhawks against Nashville in this year's playoffs. It's not that Nashville was the better team. They played a better game in the playoffs. They got hot at the right time. They had the better goaltending. But again, if you look at the roster top to bottom, man, Chicago had a great team. Didn't translate to the postseason. This is why it can be very frustrating for a GM. Because you go into the offseason and you go, man, I watched 82 games. And they were great for 50 of them. They were good for 20 of them. And they were abysmal for 10 to 12. And then in the playoffs, we lost. What do I fix? And the other problem is, if you come out of a playoff loss and you go, okay, we lost to the Predators. We have to build a team that can beat the Predators. You may build a team that can beat the Predators, and then you lose in the next round to, say, St. Louis, Minnesota, whoever. And again, I say this as a Canucks fan, that after 2011, when Boston knocked them out, Vancouver kind of had this attitude of, okay, we got pushed over. We got to get physical. We got to get bigger guys. We got to be ready to beat Boston. And they did. And then they couldn't beat anybody else. They had a team to beat Boston, and that was it. You can't focus on one team, which has to be frustrating for the Capitals, because if Pittsburgh comes back and wins this game tonight, it would be tempting for the Capitals to say, all right, we have to build a team that can beat Pittsburgh. Because they do that, they can lose to the Rangers. And some matchups are just like that. I look at the first round. Calgary and Anaheim's the obvious example. Anaheim is a terrible matchup for the Calgary Flames. I think the Flames, if they'd played the Blackhawks, I think they would have had a much better chance. I don't think Calgary would have won the round, but I don't think they would have lost in 4. And if Nashville had played Anaheim, I think right now you'd have Anaheim fans screaming and yelling that they were out in the first round again, because I think Nashville would have knocked them out in the first round. It's matchups. And this is why I say things like, okay, for Game 7, Edmonton, Anaheim. Anaheim's the home team. They're the better team from top to bottom, but it's not necessarily a great matchup for the Ducks. And that's why it's a 3-3 series tie going back home for Game 7. There are matchups, and I think part of the deal with Edmonton is that when I watch Kessler trying to do his shtick, the Oilers have a lot of big players that it just doesn't work on, like it would have worked with Calgary. Edmonton has a number of forwards who are experienced, and perhaps even experienced against Kessler, like Lucic, so that when he starts doing his thing, they know how to counteract him. And this is why I don't think any fan base should listen to me say X is a better team than Y and think, well, wait a minute, he just said my team wasn't as good as that team, but they won. I'm just looking player for player. And of course, people are going to say, wait, so are you saying that Getzlaf's better than McDavid? No. I'm saying if you look at the overall depth in the organization, the Anaheim Ducks have created a great team. I have my doubts it's a great playoff team. So when I hear somebody say this team, Team A, Team B, is a great regular season team, what I hear is they're one of the best teams in the league. They just haven't figured it out in the postseason yet. And I think back to, is it in this one? Yeah, it's in this one. The Colorados. When the Colorado hockey fans come out to see the new hockey team, they'll be able to see the NHL's top rookie and coach from last season and one of the most exciting teams in the league. But will they see many playoff games? The former Quebec Nordiques have been up one season and down the next. The only constant has been their failure to advance in the playoffs. Things were supposed to be different last season when rookie GM Pierre Lacroix added depth on defense and leadership in former Toronto Maple Leafs captain Wendell Clark. Mission accomplished in the regular season when the Nordiques, under rookie coach Mark Crawford, placed second overall with 65 points in 48 games. It was a lockout-shortened season. But for all the improvement and promise, it was the same old dazed and confused Nordiques who bowed out in 6 to the New York Rangers. The new and improved Nordiques failed their first big test. No one will question Colorado's talent or depth. They have a solid core of talent, which includes perhaps the best group of forwards in the league, a capable front office, and a host of excellent prospects. Now they have a stable ownership situation and no longer have to worry about cultural and tax constraints that prevented them from getting and keeping players in Quebec. But if success doesn't come this season, the chemistry of the team will undoubtedly come into question. They won the Cup that year because they made a deal with this team for a goalie named Patrick Waugh. And it worked. But up until that year, Quebec, great regular season team, kind of crap in the postseason. It doesn't mean they're not a good team. It means that in the case of the Rangers and in the case of the Montreal Canadiens, before that, they would just find a weakness and the team would tumble down. So when I say this team is a better team than that team, it doesn't necessarily mean in a matchup between the two, the better team's going to win. And I've been having this argument for a while where people say, well, the better team always wins in the playoffs. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. The smartest team wins in the playoffs. The most adaptable team wins in the playoffs. The smartest, best coached, the team that's capable of taking advantage of lucky bounces, able to hold the lead, these teams win in the playoffs. It's not necessarily the best team. Because that's how sports works. You go into a series and you say, all right, fellas, that team is probably better than we are. let's prove everybody wrong. On paper, they beat us, but on the ice, we can't let it happen. And I think that's been Todd McClellan's rallying cry all year. Let's prove everybody wrong. People are saying McDavid's the only reason we're here. Let's go out and prove that we're a great team. And so far, they've done that. So I'm not betting against them in Game 7 against the Ducks. It is a really tough call. Because the Ducks are going to bounce back from that 7-1 loss. Recent history notwithstanding. But, all right, hopefully that clears things up a little bit for people. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. Hit like and subscribe just for the jersey. I mean, come on. Come on now. This again, tax time. Grateful for tax time. If only I had got those jerseys from Full Moon Jerseys, but I'm 2 days away from being able to get my money back. And when I get my money back, you know what I'm doing. I'm taking the money I get back, and I'm going to order the jerseys all over again. But I'm going to get them shipped to my post office box because I know they're not just going to get dropped at the door. And I don't know what door they got dropped at because I'm pretty sure they didn't get dropped at mine. It doesn't matter. Money back, jersey sent. Happy Shannon. Hockey guy has a great week, whenever that is. It probably won't be during the big sale we got coming up at work because that's going to be a rough sale. But, that being said, we'll see what happens. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be talking to you all again soon.